Well, with growing up in my house, I really grew up with the basics of the basics. If I can say that, coming from a very poor background, I mean, you had pap as bread with black coffee. That is what was happening in my house. But it was wonderful years. Even though one was so poor, you really didn't see anything wrong with that because that's how everybody was living. Until you get exposed to other stuff in your life. When I went to high school, for instance, I realized very quickly that I had to be in boarding school and I had to approach people that could help me to pay for my boarding school and for my school. So that is how my journey started, where others really started plowing into my life financially, spiritually, and I quickly had the understanding that God had a plan with my life, and I immediately gave heed to that plan of God for my life. So I finished school. My first job was that of a police officer, and I've enjoyed being a police officer. But God's plans started unfolding slowly by slowly, and I really started enjoying better jobs and good salaries for that matter. But in my journey, I also had to be reminded back from where I was coming from, because it was because of others that I have become. And I immediately started looking at life from that perspective, that whatever God is blessing me with is not for me. It is really just me being used as a conduit for God to intervene and transform a life out there. And yes, it is not always easy to know who is in need and who is not. There is a lot of people there that are marginalized, that are vulnerable because of circumstances. And it is not always easy to know who is in real need and who not. People can also take you for granted while you are trying to be of assistance. But then again, I think the beautiful part is when we partner with God in our lives, in whatever it is, He gives us the spirit to discern when to give and not. And I've since been partnering with God in my life in that area, and God has been really taking me on this journey of sharing all that He has blessed me with others. And the beautiful part is that this is not just my cry or my burden, it's both my husband also. We're both in the same place because we're both coming from the same backgrounds where others really have supported us, and where others have seen in us potential and gave so that we could become what we are today. So we both have a heart for the vulnerable, for the marginalized. And yes, the poor people will always be amongst us. It is not something that one should be ashamed of. Poverty anyway is just a condition of the mind. You are not stuck forever in that place, because if that was the case, then all of us would have been there till today. But we just thank God really that He gave us that opportunity, that whatever passes our hands really is not for us to see or to be so nearsighted, just seeing our bellies full, but to really see how God transforms lives through that which He has blessed us with, and how people can then now obviously also experience and see the kindness and goodness of God through our lives, and that way come to know God because of how God is using us to bless those around us. So yeah, that is basically my journey of having this passion and so much compassion also for the needy out there. And it is $1 million question that people will always ask you. If I give you $1 million today, what will you do? We get to those places where we also are challenging our thoughts in that way. And I think in my case, really, I always just say that I have the responsibility to steward that which God has entrusted in my hands prudently, and make sure that I also do not contribute to the wastage of what God has given me to manage well. So it is a pleasure for us. It is quite something that gives us so much satisfaction. I mean, if I had the whole world, I always say, even during this time, I was saying, we need to look where we can feed who. It is really something that gives me joy to see that others are taken care of. And sometimes I can't, and sometimes I can, depending on how God blesses me. It's not always that there is. In some cases, there is nothing. But I don't worry much about it, because that is not my problem to worry about. God is the provider. He's the one who opens doors, and He's also the one who closes the doors. So I totally depend on Him to then make a way for us, and then that way we can also make a way for others.